Hi. Today we'll be talking about the importance of effective communication in the workplace, especially in paper sales, where teamwork and problem solving are essential. We'll cover how supportive communication builds trust, why active listening helps prevent misunderstandings, and recognizing and diffusing conflict early can keep situations professional and productive. Together, these skills will help create stronger teams and better workplace relationships. To start us off, Preston will preview our main points.
For our main points, we wanted to try and pick some things that we expect all of our employees to follow. Before I get into the main points, I want to again say that in order for you to adapt and function in our company, you must meet these skills, and we expect that out of you. If if you're uncooperating, you may be written up and expected to attend employee training classes. Now for our main points. The first thing we look at is for you to have supportive communication versus defensive communication. This is something we look for in our employees so that they can remain productive in group meetings. The second thing that our company looks for is our employees must be active listeners, and failure to do so will result in very one sided group meetings, and we do not want that. For our last main point, our employees must be able to defuse conflicts quickly without the need to always get management involved. With these three main points, you can become very successful in our company. Now let's move over to Evan to teach us about our first main point.
First attribute that we would like to see an employee of our company demonstrate would be supportive communication versus defensive communication. Defensive communication is an unwillingness to listen, focus on self protection, blaming, excuses, and denial, and counterattacking. Defensive communication can make both parties feel judged, attacked, pressured, or manipulated. Once someone feels defensive, they usually stop listening and start protecting themselves in a conversation. For supportive communication, this would be a person that is problem oriented instead of person oriented. They have validation over invalidation, and they are descriptive over evaluative. Supportive communication can make the other person feel respected, understood, and safe to respond honestly. For an example, for supportive versus defensive communication, if you found an error in someone's work, defensive communication would be judging the person, saying something like, "You're careless with your work." Supportive communication would be describing the behavior objectively without singling them out, saying something like, "I noticed a few errors in the report." Judgment feels like an attack, but description feels fixable.
For successful communication with colleagues and supervisors, active listening is key. Start by eliminating distractions. Stop what you're doing and give your full attention to the speaker. One common mistake people make is planning the response while the speaker is still talking. Avoid this to ensure you're focused. Once distractions are eliminated, listen without interrupting, even if you already understand what the speaker is going to say next. Next, pay attention to nonverbal cues like tone, facial expression, and body language to understand not just what's being said, but how it's meant. If you don't understand what the speaker is saying, ask appropriate questions. Most of the time, your questions will involve asking for additional information, finding out how someone feels, asking for clarification, or verifying your conclusion about what the speaker is meaning or feeling. Lastly, paraphrase key points to verify understanding. Include both content on what was spoken and the speaker's feelings. This process reduces misunderstanding, helps build trust, and ensures alignment between employees and supervisors. Now on to Will to talk about conflict resolution.
To ensure proper communication and teamwork with coworkers, it is essential for quick conflict recognition and proper diffusal of the situation. First, we must recognize conflict early. Conflict usually starts with small signs like changes in tone, body language, or repeated miscommunication. If you catch these early, you can stop things from escalating. Second, we must pause before reacting instead of responding emotionally right away. Take a moment to breathe and collect yourself. A calm, controlled response is always more effective than reacting on your impulse. Third, address the issue directly and respectfully. Be clear on what's going on, but make sure that you're listening. It's important to hear both sides and show respect even if you disagree. Finally, we must diffuse the situation. Acknowledge the other person's perspective and look for a common ground. Try to understand where they're coming from and suggest a solution that will work for both sides. By recognizing the conflict early, staying calm, communicating respectfully, and focusing on the resolution, you can prevent situations from getting worse and handle them more effectively.
Through these instructional videos, you have gained a clear understanding of the critical role communication plays within this organization. Evan outlined the key differences between supportive and defensive communication and emphasized the advantages of adopting a supportive approach. James highlighted the importance of active listening and provided insight into what it means to be an effective listener. Will demonstrated how to identify conflict promptly and apply strategies to de-escalate challenging situations. Finally, you will be directed to Michael, who will conclude this training and reinforce these key concepts.
As we wrap up, remember that communication is at the core of everything we do. In paper sales, challenges and conflict are part of the job, but how we respond makes all the difference. By choosing supportive communication, listening actively, and recognizing conflict before it starts, we can resolve issues and strengthen relationships with customers and with each other. In every conversation, take a moment to pause, listen, and seek understanding before responding. When we communicate with intention and respect, we turn everyday conversations into opportunities for trust and success.